I never expected to become a billionaire by doing what my family called wasting my life. The irony wasn't lost on me as I sat in Sony's gleaming corporate headquarters, staring at the contract that would change everything. $1.2 billion. The number still felt surreal, even after months of negotiations. My phone buzzed again. Another message from my sister Claire. Mom and Dad saw the news. Everyone's freaking out. Please call us. I set the phone face down on the polished conference table, remembering all the times they tried to save me from my supposed addiction. All the lectures, the interventions, the thinly veiled disappointment. Now they wanted to talk. Let me take you back 5 years to where this story really begins. I was 23, living in my parents' basement in suburban Chicago, and according to my family, I was throwing my life away. The fact that I graduated summa cum laude in computer science from Northwestern didn't matter. The fact that I was actually building something, coding day and night, creating what I knew would revolutionize multiplayer gaming, that didn't matter either. All they saw was their son, Alex Chen, playing video games all day instead of pursuing a real career like my siblings. I found another opening at Morgan Stanley, my mother would say during our forced family dinners, sliding job listings across the table like she was conducting an intervention. Your cousin Michael could put in a good word. Ah, Michael, the golden child of the extended family, vice president at 30, perfect wife, perfect house in the suburbs. They never tired of comparing me to him. The gaming industry is bigger than Hollywood and the music industry combined, I tried to explain for the 100th time. The engine I'm building could change how multiplayer games work entirely. My father would just shake his head, disappointment etched in every line of his face. Games are for children, Alex? When will you grow up and do something meaningful with your degree? Only my younger sister Jenny seemed to understand, or at least tried to. She'd sit with me sometimes, watching me code, asking questions about how it all worked. Explain it to me again, she'd say, genuinely curious. What makes your engine different? What made it different was that I figured out how to solve one of multiplayer gaming's biggest problems: latency. My engine could predict player actions milliseconds before they happened, making online gameplay virtually instantaneous. No more lag, no more desync, no more players teleporting around the map. It was revolutionary if I could just finish it. But revolutionary doesn't pay the bills, as my family loved to remind me. 5 years, I promised myself. Give it 5 years. If it doesn't work out, I'll take that job at Morgan Stanley. I started a company, Quantum Gaming Solutions, though calling it a company was generous. It was just me, my computer, and an idea. I worked 18-hour days, surviving on energy drinks and instant ramen. Every spare dollar went into servers and equipment. When my old laptop died, I sold my car to buy a proper development rig. The family criticism intensified. He sold his car to buy more gaming equipment. I overheard my mother telling relatives at a family gathering. What will the neighbors think? Both his siblings are so successful, and she trailed off, but her meaning was clear. Claire, my older sister, was a surgical resident. Tom, my older brother, was making partner at his law firm. And I was the disappointment, the cautionary tale, the son they didn't know how to explain to their friends. The worst part? I was actually making progress. Major progress. The engine worked. Early tests showed it performing better than anything on the market, but try explaining technical benchmarks and millisecond improvements to a family that thought video games were toys for teenagers. Then came the day that changed everything. I was at my usual spot in the basement debugging a particularly tricky piece of code when Jenny burst in, almost tripping down the stairs in her excitement. Alex, oh my God, Alex, have you seen this? She thrust her phone in my face. On the screen was a post from a major gaming news site. Sony announces search for next-gen gaming technology, $5 million development fund. I scanned the article, my heart racing. They were looking for exactly what I was building. The timing was perfect. My engine was nearly ready for demonstration. You have to apply, Jenny insisted, bouncing on her toes. This is it, Alex. This is your chance to show everyone. I spent the next week polishing my prototype, preparing documentation, recording demonstrations. Jenny helped me put together the presentation, staying up late into the night to get everything perfect. Don't tell Mom and Dad, I said. Not yet. Not until we know. She mimed zipping her lips. Secrets safe with me. 2 weeks later, I got the email that would set everything in motion. Dear Mr. Chen, we are impressed with your submission and would like to schedule a meeting. I stared at those words for a full 10 minutes, reading them over and over to make sure they were real. Sony wanted to meet with me, the gaming giant that had shaped my childhood, that had inspired me to start coding in the first place, wanted to see my engine. But I knew my family wouldn't understand the significance. To them, Sony meant TVs and stereos, not the PlayStation empire that had revolutionized gaming. So I kept quiet even as I prepared for the biggest meeting of my life. The morning of the meeting, my mother came down to the basement, probably for another attempt at job intervention. She found me putting on the only suit I owned, the one from Claire's wedding 2 years ago. Oh, she stopped short, surprise evident on her face. You're dressed up. Are you finally going to interview for real jobs? I adjusted my tie, checking my reflection in the basement window. Something like that, Mom. I have a meeting. That's wonderful. She clasped her hands together. Is it with Michael's company? I knew you'd come around eventually. I just smiled, grabbed my laptop bag, and headed out. Let her think what she wanted. Soon enough, they'd all understand. The Sony meeting was at their American headquarters in New York. I'd bought the plane ticket with the last of my savings, telling my parents I was visiting a friend from college. Jenny drove me to the airport, practically vibrating with excitement. Show them what you've got, big brother, she said, hugging me goodbye. Make them see what I've seen all along. I hadn't been nervous until I walked into that massive glass building, my dress shoes squeaking slightly on the polished floor. The security guard at the desk looked at me skeptically as I stated my business, probably wondering what this young Asian kid in a slightly too small suit was doing there. But then Sarah Martinez, Sony's head of gaming technology, came to meet me personally. She had the kind of presence that filled a room, her sharp eyes taking in everything at once. Alex Chen, she said, shaking my hand firmly. Your submission caught our attention. Not many people are tackling the latency problem from this angle. Show me what you've got. For the next 2 hours, I walked her and her team through my engine. I showed them the predictive algorithms, the network optimization, the seamless player synchronization. I ran demonstrations, explained the technical architecture, answered their increasingly excited questions. When I finished, Sarah leaned back in her chair, a slight smile playing at her lips. How long have you been working on this, Alex? About 3 years, I replied. Full-time for the last 2. She nodded slowly. And you developed this entirely by yourself? Yes. Well, my sister helped with some of the presentation materials, but the engine itself, yes, all me. Sarah exchanged glances with her team. What you've built here. It's impressive. Very impressive. We'd like to run some additional tests, have our technical team do a deep dive. But I think we might be interested in more than just the development fund. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? I mean, she said, leaning forward, we might be interested in acquiring quantum gaming solutions outright. Your engine could be exactly what we need for our next-generation gaming platform. I tried to keep my voice steady. What kind of acquisition are we talking about? She wrote a number on a piece of paper and slid it across the table. I looked at it, blinked, and looked again. The number hadn't changed. That's an initial offer, she said. Subject to due diligence and technical verification, of course. Take some time to think about it. Have your lawyers review it. Lawyers. Right, because I was suddenly in a position where I needed lawyers. I floated through the rest of the day in a daze. On a flight back to Chicago, I couldn't stop staring at the number Sarah had written down. It was more money than I could have imagined, more than enough to prove to everyone that I hadn't been wasting my life after all. But I knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge would be telling my family and dealing with their inevitable reactions when they realized that their basement-dwelling disappointment was about to become a billionaire. As my plane descended into O'Hare, I made a decision. I wouldn't tell them yet. Not until everything was finalized. Let them keep thinking I was just playing games. After all, I'd learned the truth soon enough. The next 3 months were the most intense of my life. Sony's technical team descended on my basement office, transforming it into something that looked more like a NASA control center than a gaming setup. My mother nearly had a heart attack when she came downstairs to find 5 engineers in Sony-branded polo shirts hunched over their laptops. What is all this? She demanded, her eyes wide with confusion. Alex, what's going on? Just some consulting work, Mom, I said casually, though my heart was racing. Nothing to worry about. She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. But for once she didn't push. Maybe it was the professional presence of the Sony team, or maybe she was just tired of fighting about my career choices. The technical verification process was grueling. Sony's engineers tried everything to break my engine, pushing it to its limits and beyond. They ran simulations I hadn't even thought of, tested edge cases that would have broken any other system. But my code held up. More than held up, it exceeded their expectations. This is remarkable work, David, their lead engineer, told me one evening after a particularly intense testing session. Where did you learn to code like this? I shrugged, thinking back to countless nights spent teaching myself, debugging until sunrise. Mostly self-taught. I've been coding since I was 12. He shook his head, clearly impressed. Well, whoever taught you, or didn't teach you, you've built something special here. The preliminary offer from Sony turned into a serious negotiation. Sarah Martinez flew in from New York with a team of lawyers. I hired my own legal team, much to my family's confusion when they saw men in expensive suits coming and going from our house. Are you in some kind of trouble? My father asked one evening, his voice heavy with concern. We can help if you need money for legal fees. I'm not in trouble, Dad, I assured him. Everything's fine. Better than fine, actually. But I still couldn't tell them the whole truth. Not yet. The deal was too fragile, too important to risk jinxing it with premature celebrations. Jenny was my lifeline during this period. She helped me maintain my cover story while also being my sounding board for all the major decisions I had to make. They want to integrate the engine into their next-gen console, I told her one night as we sat in her car outside a Starbucks, one of the few places we could talk privately. But they also want to license it for their VR platform. That's amazing. She squealed, then caught herself and lowered her voice. What are they offering? I showed her the latest contract figures. Her eyes went wide. Holy, Alex, I know. Mom and Dad are going to lose their minds. I know. She grabbed my hand, squeezing it tight. I'm so proud of you, big brother. You did it. You actually did it. But not everyone was as supportive. Word had started to spread through the family grapevine that something was happening with my gaming hobby. The reactions were predictably dismissive. At a family dinner, cousin Michael couldn't resist taking a dig. Still playing around with your video games, Alex? You know, there's an entry-level position opening up in my department. I bit my tongue, remembering the non-disclosure agreement I'd signed. Soon, Michael. Soon you'll see. Claire was more direct in her criticism. This has gone on long enough, she declared during one of her impromptu intervention attempts. You're living in the basement, meeting with strange people, being secretive. Mom and Dad are worried sick. I'm fine, Claire, I said, trying to keep my voice level. Better than fine. No, you're not. You're wasting your potential on some pipe dream. When are you going to join the real world like the rest of us? The real world. If only she knew that while she was lecturing me, I was in the final stages of negotiating a billion-dollar deal. The pressure reached its peak when my parents called a family meeting. Everyone was there, Claire, Tom, even Michael and his wife. They sat me down in the living room like I was a teenager who'd been caught smoking. We've been patient, my father began, his voice stern but concerned. We've given you time to explore this gaming thing, but you're 28 now, Alex. It's time to think about your future. My mother nodded earnestly. Michael says his company has excellent benefits, a real career path. I already have a career, I said quietly. Claire scoffed. Playing games in the basement isn't a career. You have no idea what I do down there. I shot back, my patience finally wearing thin. None of you do. You've never even tried to understand. Then explain it to us, Tom challenged. Explain how hiding in the basement is better than a real job with real prospects. I looked around at their faces, concerned, disappointed, judgmental. In just a few days, the acquisition would be announced. Everything would change. But right now, they were determined to save me from the very thing that was about to make me more successful than all of them combined. You want to know what I've been doing? I stood up, anger and frustration finally boiling over. I've been building something important. Something that's going to change gaming forever. But you've all been so busy looking down on me, so convinced that I'm wasting my life, that you couldn't see what was right in front of you. Alex, my mother started, But I cut her off. No, Mom, I'm done explaining myself. I'm done trying to make you understand. Just wait. You'll see soon enough. I walked out of that family meeting with my head held high, ignoring their calls to come back, to be reasonable, to listen to sense. They'd been telling me who I was and what I could achieve for years. In exactly 3 days, they'd learn how wrong they'd been. The Sony deal was set to be announced Monday morning before the market opened. Jenny helped me pick out a proper suit, no more ill-fitting wedding attire. We went to the nicest men's store in Chicago, where the salespeople treated me like royalty once they saw the black card that Sarah had arranged for me to cover acquisition-related expenses. You look like a tech mogul, Jenny declared as I studied my reflection. They're not going to know what hit them. Sunday night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my basement one last time, looking at the space where I'd spent countless hours building my dream. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Everything's set for tomorrow. Get ready for your life to change. I smiled, thinking about the press release that would go out in just a few hours. Sony acquires quantum gaming solutions for $1.2 billion. The gaming blogs would explode. The tech press would scramble for interviews. And my family. Well, my family was about to learn that sometimes the biggest successes come from the things they call failures. I went upstairs to get a glass of water and found my father sitting alone in the dark kitchen. Can't sleep? He asked. I shook my head. He sighed heavily. Alex, about the family meeting, we just want what's best for you. You understand that, right? I looked at my father, really looked to him. Behind the disappointment and frustration, I saw genuine concern. He truly believed he was trying to save me from myself. I know, Dad, I said softly. But sometimes what's best for someone isn't what everyone else thinks it should be. He frowned, clearly not understanding. Get some sleep, Dad, I said, heading back to the basement. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day. I had no idea just how interesting it would turn out to be.